pull this thing off.
Ready?
Oh no. That is not good. So we already knew that we had metal shavings in the oil pan, in the oil system, which means most likely bearings. It could be extra wear on the cylinder walls because of the boost, but we've got debris, and quite a bit of debris in the intake manifold. So all this stuff here is metal shavings. There are some pretty big chunks actually, and it's really hard to tell where this came from. Everything that's coming through those turbos that were just covered with the screens being sucked in through the intercooler, through all the piping, and then into the intake manifold, which then goes down directly into the cylinders, past the valves. We might have a lot of top end damage as well, which is not good news at all. I've been looking constantly for another F12 engine and I cannot find one. This is the engine that we have. This is the engine that we need to put back into this car. We're gonna have to figure this out. We're gonna have to pull the rest of this engine apart and see what else is going on. Is this part ready to come off, Tim?
It is ready.
All right, go ahead and lift it up and let's see what we find. Get caught on something here. Oh, there's a hose that goes through underneath these fuel lines. Again, what else is it caught on?
Same thing on the other side.
Fit through possibly? Yes.
Yes.
I see some dirt and debris in there. Well, that does not look good. It's quite a bit of debris. Now, some of that is lead from the leaded fuel that is sticking to the valves. I don't know what the top of the pistons are gonna look like right now. Cylinder walls, that's one of my biggest concerns. I don't know if these cylinders are like a Nicosil liner, which is basically an aluminum block, do like this electro spray coating on it that you can't really machine. It's basically one-time use. If it has sleeves in it, then we're better off, but at the same time, if it has sleeves, those are parts that we're gonna have to order from Ferrari, and I have no idea the cost or the timeline to get those parts. What do you got there?
I found a golf ball in the valley, but it's squishy.
What is that?
Is this a Ferrari part?
It might just be.
That is odd. Well, it's not inside the engine, so that's good.
Is there any more?
You know, I mean, there's some random hardware down there. There's a bolt and
Oh, there's a bolt in there.
Yeah, there's a few bolts, a few nuts. Something strange is going on. We found some pretty odd parts, like this golf ball under the intake manifold. Also, some hardware was in there that does not look like it ever went on any Ferrari. So I've been involved in racing for a long time, and I've personally seen sabotage to other people's cars. I've seen things like sugar in the gas tank, which completely destroys the fuel system. I'm not saying that's the case here, but you never know. Dave's Squadra Corsa was vandalized in the parking lot not too long ago, and everywhere this car goes, car shows, the hood is up, the guys walk away, not sure what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. I need to go and talk to Damon and Dave about this because things are starting to get really expensive here.
Michael Esso.
Michael Esso, what's happening?
Oh man!
There's more problems with the F12.
Yeah, now what?
It's actually, before he goes, it's actually a bigger problem. What is our budget on the F12? Speaking of money.
Well, whatever it was, it is increasing as we get deeper into the project. So the more parts we pull off the car, the more parts we pull off the engine, the more damage we're finding.
Like the engine's actually probably got some issues.
I don't know if it would have ran for another month if we slowed it down.
Another month, that's it?
I don't know. It might have gone a little longer, but it could have been days.
Oh boy.
What'd he do?
It's a very, very high strung setup. So it's 13 and a half, 13.7 in one compression with boost, lots of load. I think that the pistons are really short, wall pistons, the skirts are very short. So with all that extra pressure, they're basically twisting in the bore and probably wearing the cylinders, wearing the pistons. I don't know if it's killed a bearing in the engine, a crankshaft bearing, a main bearing, or a rod bearing, but that's... I have no idea what he's saying. More dollars, lots more dollars.
How do we fix it?
We just gotta tear it apart and
The whole
inspect
motor.
it. Oh, down to every last piece. Every bolt has to come off the engine, 100%.
Just buy a used motor.
If we,
I can't find one.
I was just about to say, let's just buy a used motor.
I've been looking for weeks, month now, and I cannot find an F12 motor. I can find 599 motors. I can find FF motors.
What's the difference?
They're all actually
They're
significantly different.
quite a bit less power.
How much have we spent so far on this build?
I think so far we're in
Nobody knows.
$35,000 or $40,000.
Last time everyone was done.
No, we're nowhere near done.
We have the rear diff. That's paid for. The sequential gearbox is here. That's
Yeah.
paid for.
Yep.
What is the next steps for the build? I was actually going to ask you that. Like, should we go look at it?
Yeah, we can go.
Let's go into the back and have a look at this car and talk about what are the next steps. Where do we go from here? How do we problem solve the problems? And where do we get the money to solve the problems with? To the F12. Oh, what do we got here?
All right, well, grab a flashlight and just take a look in the cylinders or down into the head ports.
Oh God.
Holy.
So,
What's going on there?
well, Damon obviously doesn't look at engines every day. So
Well,
he
I can
doesn't
tell you
even
right
know.
now,
but
that metal shouldn't be there.
right?
Do the valves usually look like that?
There's a lot of buildup on the valves. One is from leaded fuel. So this is direct injection, which means the fuel injectors are actually inside of the cylinders and they're not spraying into
Bit dilated.
That lead buildup is there because of overlap in the cams. So it's a normally aspirated engine, but it's turbocharged. So it's actually blowing boost out through here and backwards into the intake manifold as the combustion. It's a lot of stuff going on. So a normally aspirated, high revving V12 engine that's now turbocharged is not ideal in any way. So there are a lot of things that we are.
So we got to give it to Ferrari for building one hell of a. This is a strong motor. The fact that it's been through what it's been through and didn't just blow up, right?
Oh yeah.
Because that doesn't look good. That's not supposed to look like that. You see it? You see all the metal? That's actually crazy.
That sucks.
Oh, that was there too.
What?
It wasn't in here. It was in here. But look, did you see the bolts and nuts that are floating around in there too?
Why is that floating around there?
What is the outcome of all this? Like, you don't really know until you just tear it apart,
We just
right?
have to tear everything apart.
The car still has tons of stuff that you guys can do in the meantime, right?
Actually, what we really need to do, because you're not here for very long, is we need to go to Sparco. We need to get seats that fits you properly. We need to put that seat in the car and get your seating position set, and then I can build the roll cage around you. I built some mounting plates for the roll cage. So for this one, main hoop, so a 1/4 inch thick aluminum.
That's sick.
So those will get welded down there eventually, and then the roll cage will.
Like what you do with the 550.
Yeah, but the difference is that that's aluminum, and the roll cage is steel, so we have to make plates and it has to bolt in.
And then this is the hole that you've had to cut out for the
Just-
new gearbox.
Exactly. So the top. Of
Which, by
that-
the way, can I just point out, is like, that thing is way smaller than I expected. I had no idea that a sequential gearbox was like this big.
Yeah.
How big was the gearbox for this car?
Massive. It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a transaxle, so it doesn't have the differential built into it as well. And
But still, look at that thing.
it's huge.
That is crazy. It actually like blows my mind. But regardless of how big or how small it is, it has to fit in here. And we were talking about cutting and shaving other parts. So I take it the holes for the shifter, but did you have to cut anything underneath?
No, actually, just that one piece had to come out to get the transmission to fit in there.
So it did fit in the tunnel.
It did, and I was actually surprised. I thought it was going to make contact with the sides and maybe even more on top, but it worked out. We need to get you in the seat, and then we need to get you comfortable, put the shifter where you want it, give me an idea of where you want the steering wheel, then I can take all those measurements, and then when you're gone, I can be working on all that stuff. If I have measurements of the steering wheel off of a point here to here, from the center of the steering wheel to the floor,
Copy that.
then I can get a steering column. I can start doing all of these things without having to have you, calling you in here every day, sit in the car again and tell me where you want this.
What time does Sparko close?
4:30, I believe.
What time is it?
3:45. 3:45.
Can we go?
Let's
Can we go do that right now?
Let's go shopping.
To the Dodge Caravan.
And let's spend some more of the budget that we don't know what that is. Tim needs to start an OnlyFans to fund this project.
Okay, whatever you want.
Let's go to Smart.
Only hands.
Only hands. Hand model.
I thought Dave was in the bathroom, but he was actually in the van turning on the nitrous, getting the AC cranking.
Oh yeah, how's the AC, bro?
It's good for now. Why was the AC not working?
Freon was low?
Who did that? Damon?
Who else wrecks the van?
Wasn't me.
A lot of finger pointing going on.
There's a lot of fingering going on in this van. I already wrecked anyway.
Dude.
It's fine. It's fine.
What steering wheel do you want? There are a lot of choices.
I want a round one. That'll narrow it down.
So some guys like these 330 millimeters that are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more of a road racing wheel. For drifting, sliding around, anything, I like wheels that are like a 350 to 350 range. So this is that's 345 millimeter. That's a nice wheel. I don't know if you like the look of the really dished ones or if you like a flatter wheel.
What's easier to hold on to? Is there any difference between a more dished versus something like this that's flatter?
A lot of times you run a dished wheel in a car where the steering column is kind of far away and the seat's back. And instead of doing like a big stack of spacers to put the wheel in the right spot, you run a dish.
I do like having a wheel closer to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like driving. Like, I like the proper position.
Yeah, I've got an idea for the steering column already that's very adjustable. So we can put it wherever
Oh,
we
that's
want
cool.
it.
So we can do something that's not so crazy dished.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I run on my drift car because I like the rally 2-spoke style. There's more spots for, without these like kind of hitting your thumbs as you're spinning it around.
That's cool.
I love that wheel.
If you want to know what to get, go with what Formula Drift champion Michael Essa recommends. We'll go with that one. And I like the idea of there being less things that when you want to slide, like let go and let the wheel
Spin in your hand.
in your hand, you have less chances of obviously having that rip your thumb off.
So I picked up the QRTKs.
Oh, these are sick. I
They're
like this.
super light. They're very stiff.
The C again stands for carbon. This stands for carbon and Kevlar. So on the back, you'll be able to see the carbon. That'll have the yellow with the Kevlar.
Kevlar ones are in the 550 and the carbon ones Evo 2.
Evo 2, that's
to
what it
match
was.
all the carbon bodywork on that car.
Correct. Yeah, these are great seats.
Why did I get the cheap seats from the Squadra Corsa and Damon gets these fancy ones?
Your seats are more expensive because you got the leather wrapped one.
Look how small Tim was. You look like a child in that thing.
Oh no, a Jeep.
How much are these?
Mike doesn't want to tell you
Don't
because
worry about
he bills it to him and then he bills us afterwards.
He marks it up, doesn't he?
He does mark it up.
You're paying for lightness.
Yeah.
Might cost more.
Dave, I just want to say
I got a grip on that.
thanks for always helping out. And I know better than to let anything sit loosely in my hands with you around.
Whoa, Tim.
Yeah, these seats cost more than my first car.
1987 Dodge Lancer.
My first car that ran was a 1970 240Z, and I got it for $400.
My first vehicle was a 1988 Toyota pickup truck lowrider. My mom bought it for me, and it was 16 grand. What? With a body kit and had pearl blue paint. Ooh. Bowden's Auto House.
He's going He'll be in his office.
You, Josh!
Can't see that far.
Who it is? You can't see my face. This is who it
You
is.
can tell by your lame.
What are you doing, Josh? Hey, Josh! You know who it was? Oh!
David.
What are you standing there for?
Can you imagine if he actually hit me in the face? Psych! You're a real man. You do real work. You build real cars.
You work out every day.
His grip strength is pretty tight. Trust me.
Bro, those are sick. Bro. Carbon Kevlar. There's also a bulletproof vest you walk around and protect yourself. These are pretty
It
light.
actually work. You want to test it out?
Would it actually stop a bullet?
Try. All right, so we're back at the shop. We got the Sparco seats, we got side mounts, and we picked up a steering wheel, and that's basically what we need right now to get the seat in the car, to get Damon situated in the right driving position, hold the steering wheel in place, figure out where the shifter is gonna go, and then I can start building the roll cage. I won't have to make the roll cage twice because that is an absolute nightmare.
How much longer are these bolts gonna take, Tim? What are you guys doing
I put it down now?
to my car? They're just throwing this thing around like it's no big deal.
Well, we were seeing if we could put the seat in and if it was stable enough.
Oh!
But I think if you sit in there,
Dude, stand on the rear back corner. Right now, it looks like it's doing 3-wheel motion.
it is.
It's like, whoop.
Should we build this car into the first like lowrider Ferrari?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay, go, Tim. All right, Damon, you come down. Come down. Good.
It's not that light.
It's not that light.
A little heavier, and I might have a bit of a hard time actually picking that up.
Yeah. Where the jack stands are placed on the front right now, it is like all the way at the nose.
Yeah.
So it's almost all the way to the car that you're lifting.
All the weight.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. This is the big moment. This was the missing link. I mean,
Yeah.
you said can't move forward with the rest of this until we get the seat in, you sitting in the seat.
We need to get all those things figured out before I can move forward comfortably, because I don't want to have to redo anything, because that's just going to push us back even further.
Makes sense. All these little nuances to building a proper car is really neat. Like Mike's knowledge, understanding what needs to be done, exactly what order, blows my mind every time I watch him work and see how things turn out. Even something like the 550, which was relatively simple. This is obviously like full-blown project. And I know you guys love this stuff. I've been reading some of the comments. You guys absolutely love Mike. In fact, I'm pretty sure you guys like Mike more than both Dave and myself.
A little bit. It's like too much.
Watch your head.
Try not to move it too much.
Yeah, so basically throttle pedal is going to be, right next to the firewall.
Yeah.
Next to the transmission tunnel, sorry. Yeah, looking at the angle on your knees right now. We already have a good, I think, tilt back. I don't think you want any more recline than that. I'm really glad that you're sitting in the car right now, because the pedal assembly that I was going to order will not work.
Because it'll be too close.
Somewhere in this area?
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at the angle on your knees. That wouldn't work.
No?
You wouldn't be comfortable. You could drive it, but...
So we have to do a hanging pedal assembly?
We may be able to do they have an inverse mounted pedal assembly with master cylinders under the pedals rather than in front of the pedals.
Oh.
But it raises the pedal box up a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be like F1 style.
Yeah, more flat.
Oh, look at you go. Oh, look at this. So that would be there?
It can be wherever, basically. We're gonna have a rod, a
Yeah.
linkage rod that will connect to it. It can be as far back or as far forward.
Essentially, it would probably be.
Very close.
Somewhere.
That's a little, yeah, probably. That looks more natural. And steering wheel, usually you want the shifter lined up flat with the steering wheel, so when your hand comes off, it's easy to grab. You're not reaching back. You're not reaching forward to grab it.
This is sick. This is sick. This is pretty cool.
So while he's
that's
having
sideways.
fun in there, I'm looking at all of the clearance above his head and where we can put all of the roll cage tubes.
And you gotta think I'd have a helmet on.
Exactly.
Which is gonna take up a lot of room.
Yeah, so right now we've got about maybe 4 inches, but 2 inches of that's gonna be taken up by the helmet, and 2 inches of that's gonna be taken up by the roll cage tube, plus another inch of padding.
Can we drop the seat down a little bit?
We can. We'll probably cut these factory mounts out of the car and drop the seat down and make new mounts. I want you to have good eyeline sight also. So if we get too low, then even if the dash is flat here,
You're staring right into a turbo.
yeah, that'd be
Because
really
they'll
cool.
be sticking out of the hood.
Yeah.
What do you see? Fire! What? Fire? No, fire!
Good fire, good fire.
Whoopah, 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 whoopah. I don't know what whoopah is, but. Whoopah!
That's more of a Honda kind of a sound.
It's the old school JDM guy in me, right? And this steering wheel's cool with just this piece. It
looks really sick, yeah.
Hey? I like that. You have so many options of places. Dave, look at this. How cool is this? Look at that.
I feel like we're not there yet. I feel like there's more work to be done on this car.
No, like what?
You gotta have fun in between in all the stages.
Here's the best part. We have a deadline when he needs to have this car completed.
Yeah,
and
you
since
said-
we have the biggest things, the diff and the transmission now, everything else is just really Mike's time and a little bit of the fazula and some materials, and away we go. Like, he has a seat. What other excuses could Mike possibly have? Rebuild the motor?
You told me end of the year, right?
No, I said end of the month, near the end of the year.
So that'll be December?
That'd be October 31st, because we want to take this car to SEMA, don't we? Let's take it to SEMA. We're taking this car to SEMA so I can drive it at SEMA.
It's like 3 months.
In the burn yard. It's 3.5 months.
No, it's not.
It's August.
It's 3 months.
It's August, September,
October.
It's 3 months.
2 months minus 2 days. It's basically exactly 90 days.
Everybody does SEMA builds. They start right now. They have 3 months. It's always crunch time and it's always on a budget. We're competing against every other SEMA build that's coming to SEMA. We're coming for you.
So this car,
Are we, Mike?
how long does it take to rebuild an engine?
What?
SEMA? Seriously?
SEMA, seriously. I think, you know what, listen, you said this car would probably run for another month. It'll definitely run for another couple of days. So we'll look at the motor, we'll clean it up a little, we'll put the motor back together, we'll build the whole car on the stock motor. After SEMA, we'll pull the motor back out, and if it doesn't blow up, we build the
But what
motor.
if he fully blows it up? Can you rebuild it still? If he fully blows it up?
Well, if I fully blow it up,
No, if it throws a rod, everything's done. The entire
But
engine.
we're not doing that then. So you have to
yeah, we're doing that. Because if we do that, then we will buy a Zonda V12 motor. What? Someone put one in an RX-7 and we'll top them. We'll buy a McLaren F1 V12 motor. What?
They actually have spare ones that give you as a loaner when you have a car service, so they have them out there.
It's actually true. Did you know that?
Did you know that?
When you have
You guys were talking about budget and being over budget, and now it's Zonda motors.
No. We'll borrow it.
Listen.
We'll borrow it.
That's in the dire need of if we blew up the V12 Ferrari F12 motor at SEMA. The odds of that aren't very likely. I'm going to go easy on the car. October 31st, this thing will be running on some level, even if the motor's not built. Everything else will be done. Wide body kit, the new wheels. Let's do it.
Full mil-spec wiring harness, new headers,
Yes.
new turbos,
Yes.
new intercoolers.
You don't build turbos. That's not wrong.
all,
Yeah, you buy
well, all the stuff that goes around them, all the plumbing,
Vacuum lines?
Yep.
all the suspension, because we're making all custom suspension parts for this car.
Correct. SEMA crunch time. You just start calling people and telling them how important this build is. How many gears do I have?
6.
So it's a 6-speed.
6-speed.
So to be like, they'll be. How close are we gonna make them? We gonna be like unicorn, like it'll top out at 150, but it'll just be like
We can make it top out at 60 miles an hour if you want.
whatever you want.
So with the quick change diff, we have basically anywhere from
That's cool.
yeah.
I want my steering wheel to do that too, so I can shift, and in between I can do tricks like flip it, flip, boom, a little flip, or you do a reverse. The hard one's the reverse flip, because you have to throw it a different way. October 31st, first day of SEMA. This car will be there. You guys will be able to come and see it if you're coming to SEMA, because they now open it to the public. If you are in the industry, you don't have to wait till Friday. And the best part, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be running. You'll figure it out. By the way, what was the budget? We'll get to the next episode and figure that one out.
90 days to build this car from the ground up, including an engine, wiring harness, new manifolds, turbos, intercoolers, all custom suspension parts, drive shafts, axles, bodywork, all the fuel system. Most cars that are at SEMA with a 90-day build, they don't run. They're basically body kit, maybe a quick roll cage, and a paint. Like, put some wheels on it, and they roll them in the show, they roll them out. He wants this thing running, doing donuts, burnouts in 90 days. That is absolutely insane. But we're gonna push hard. I don't know how we're gonna make the deadline, but we're gonna try.
Mike's got it. In fact, Tim promised me Mike's got it, right, Tim?
I never.
Yeah, so hold that still. You guys, we are on our way to the biggest, baddest SEMA build ever in the history of SEMA. I don't know about that, but yeah, I'll be stoked about it. You'll be stoked about it. This car's gonna do crazy stuff though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully I'm not holding the shifter like this at SEMA. I want to build this car to the absolute highest level possible. I want it to blow people's minds when they see it, and also blow Damon's mind, because I think this is gonna be the craziest car he has ever had built for him. All right, so Tim's gonna start grinding those factory seat mounts out. I'm gonna start taking this thing apart because we've got a lot of work to do.
and very little time. We've got to tear this thing apart, see what's wrong with it, see what parts we need to purchase and source, what we can reuse, and we need to know that as soon as possible. Because if we're going to have custom parts made for this build, it's going to take a lot of time. The shorter period of time we have turns into just more and more and more money. It's a rush order now rather than a normal order. So parts start costing 2-3 times as much. So first step is to get this wiring harness off and out of the way, and then we get all this stuff. And then I'll start pulling off the power steering pump, pull the belt off, pull the coil packs out, pull the spark plugs, just get this thing stripped down to where it's just a bare long block. And then I might actually have to make an engine stand for it so I can continue the rest of the tear down, which is gonna take some time. But as we found out before, the engine stands that we got from Harbor Freight do not work very well on V12 Ferrari engines. So we'll have to modify that one that we bought, make it work. You know, pulling all these parts off the engine is actually kind of relaxing. Yeah, satisfying. It's going underneath the motor. That's going to be a pain to get off. So there's one wire that's going underneath the motor with 2 clamps on the bottom. I got to get to the bottom, but there's only this much room with it on the stand. I think I'm going to throw some jack stands underneath the front cross member and drop the hydraulic table out of the way so I can get underneath it, almost like this thing was a car on jack stands. Hopefully it'll work out and I won't die. Hey, it's working. Look at that. I have an engine stand now.
How long is this thing? It's literally holding a little clamp. That is a very long bolt, but it is out.
So these things have like a double fitting. It's the aluminum, and then there's a steel fitting that screws into it and probably holds a valve or something, and then the line. So I've got to get an adjustable wrench. Yes. Here real quick. It's an easy way to remove a serpentine belt. I'm not using that again anyway. Let's see if there's any more water in this thing. Yeah, and look at all of that though. All that white stuff is dried coolant. So it was seeping for a while, and the coolant almost acts like a sealant. So it'll start leaking, and it'll build up that white stuff and dry out and kind of glue it on there. Oh, there's a lot. Whew, crusty. Look at the difference. This one is like perfectly clean, but this one, I think the clamp wasn't tight enough. And these factory clamps, they're not the spring clamps. They pull them tight and they just kind of latch in place on a little ratchet here. And that one must have just been seeping its entire life. I know that because these are factory clamps. If they were replaced, they would have a screw type. It's been leaking for a long time. And then it built up all that white stuff, dried out, stopped leaking, good to go. Now that we have the intake manifold off and the wiring harness off, I'm able to get into the valley with a vacuum and clean out a bunch of the dirt and debris that has fallen in here over the many, many miles this car has done. I'm not overly concerned that the dirt's gonna go in the motor. We're gonna tear everything apart. We're gonna wash and inspect every single part, but at the same time, it's easy to get the vacuum out and clean it up. So I'm just about ready to pull the fuel rails off and actually the fuel injectors out also. And that's kind of odd on a lot of newer engines. They're actually injectors that are inside of the combustion chamber. So this is a direct fuel injection engine, which means it's not a port injection. The fuel injector is not in the intake manifold, spraying it down. It is actually inside of the combustion chamber. It's more efficient, burns a bit cleaner so they can meet a lot of the new emissions laws and still have a big engine. We're gonna disable all this stuff. We're gonna go back to the old school port injection. A couple of reasons for that is these injectors are a certain size and I don't think they're gonna flow enough to meet what we want to, as far as horsepower goals are. Getting aftermarket injectors that are gonna fit in this location that are direct fuel injection injectors are going to be very difficult to source. The fuel pumps also, these are DFI high pressure fuel pumps. So these actually run off a lobe on the cam, fuel pump inside of the tank that's pumping up here, feeding these, and then these are bumping up the pressure to 1,000 pounds, 700 pounds, 500 pounds, depends on the system, but very high pressure. We're getting rid of these things. I'll pull these out of here. And there we go. So these tips are actually inside of the combustion chamber. So every time the spark plug fires, these are getting super hot. They do work well in the factory applications, and some race cars do use these, but not for what we want to do. All right, alternator is out. Well, this is one of the most complex power steering pumps bracketry I've ever seen. It's got 3 bolts holding the assembly in this way, but you got to disassemble the whole thing and pull everything up. Whoa, it's shooting fluid now. You pull the whole thing apart. I think we have to pull this front cover off first, then we can pull the pump out, and then we can pull the bracket off. It's like a 3-layer deal. No idea why they did that. No problem. So I crack all the spark plugs loose by hand so I can feel if any of the threads are sticky or galling up. Spark plug gets over tightened or there's corrosion there that makes the spark plug stick, and if you just go in with an impact and rip them out, you can cross thread the head and do a lot of damage. So it's always better to just crack them loose and make sure they all feel nice and smooth. If they don't, you can usually put some oil down there, tighten it back up, loosen it, move it around a bit and get it to free up. It's all the little details that make the difference between basically a good mechanic from somebody that's just in their backyard zipping things off. I love impact tools for taking stuff off, but for certain situations like the head, it's better to crack it loose by hand first and then zip them out. It's actually a bit of wear on those. They don't look terrible, but they're definitely not new. Tim, how's it going?
I broke the blade.
Oh, so not great.
Yeah, there's like a thick piece of metal on the inside. I'm not sure if it's part of the seat mount or this.
That brace.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna grab the Sawzall and I'll chop the top of it off so we can see what's going on in there. Ready to go. We got to get the car a bit higher off the ground so Tim can get underneath, because there are some rivets that are going down and there's some that are going up. Rivet came out. It hit me in the face. Good thing I have my safety glasses on. It's like a little, it's like a little bullet.
Yeah,
it's like a 22 right there. Tim got the brackets out of the driver's side. We may have to cut this channel out a little bit, basically cut it here and, you know, cut across here. I don't want to remove that piece completely, but we may need to. As we are building a roll cage that's going to tie everything together, we can reinforce that. But if we don't have to cut it out all the way, that would be ideal. But I do think we'll have to notch it to get the seat to sit as low and as far over as we want. So now that we know that our deadline is 3 months away, actually less than 3 months, we know that we need to do a lot of days like this. We need to get a lot done on this car every single day for the next 90 days to be able to even have a chance at this car making it to the SEMA show. It's gonna be a lot of work. So much going on in my head right now of all of the things that I need to build, order, design, fabricate. It's gonna be a lot, but we're gonna push hard to get it done.